well, what if we put like emojis over our face? And I'm like, yeah, it's kind of corny. What if we just blurred our faces? Okay, that's kind of creepy and weird. So it became like really awkward and not really, like, it took the personality out of it.
Still,
so like, we might as well just not show our faces, because just seeing, from here down,
still wasn't great.
Not a great thing.
Exactly.
Welcome to Swinger University, your horizontal enrichment program, bringing you an educational podcast about swinging. Here are your hosts, Ed and Phoebe.
Hi, this is Ed.
And this is Phoebe.
Today is a special episode because it's the first and last of its kind. We're losing our virginity. Once it happens, it's done. There's no going back. Well, we've crossed that threshold, and here we are. Hopefully, you will still respect us in the morning.
It's official. We are out. And if you're listening, there's not much to see here. But if you're watching us on YouTube, ta-da! Oh my goodness.
Yeah, this is different.
It's crazy.
We've got all kinds of stuff, and we'll get into that.
Yes.
I'll point some things out when we get to that point. So
my palms are sweating.
Your palms are sweating, yeah. Our podcast isn't going to change too much, but there's going to be a video aspect to all of our episodes now, and that will be uploaded to YouTube. So if you want to see us as well as hear us, then YouTube's going to be a good platform.
We are going to shorten our YouTube episodes also for the short attention theater people like me that have a hard time watching a YouTube video all the way through. So we're going to try and shorten some of those up for you guys.
And I suspect what we're going to end up doing are shorter YouTube primed kind of videos and not necessarily shorten all of our podcasts down to YouTube appropriate lengths.
Right, because people like to listen to us in the gym and on road trips.
Yeah, and podcasts are podcasts and YouTube is YouTube. But
that's true.
We're going to have some content specifically for YouTube, and now our faces are out. See us. So
10 years of reflecting on anonymity.
Yeah.
Well, when we first started in the lifestyle, that is, we had no face pics, just like everybody else when they start a profile online, right? When you're a swinger. And then we decided, well, let's come out with our faces, because it seems so hard to connect with people online and dating, and it was awkward. And I was just, a boob was a boob was a boob, and a dick was a dick was a dick. And it was like, oh my God, I can you just give me a face?
Right.
So we just decided to come out with our faces. And what was the reason? I mean, that we finally came up with?
We kind of figured everybody who's on a site is on a site. So, the theory is that if they out you, then it's like, well, how do you know they're swingers? Well, I was on their site too. Okay, well, then you're a swinger also.
Right.
And we've been doing this for 10 years. We've never heard of anyone being outed from a site.
Right.
The closest we had was one Halloween event where a single male tried to out the party, but nobody saw anything.
Right. The podcast.
Well,
if how are we? If anyone listens to our voices, are they going to recognize us? That was another thing that we were nervous about, right?
A little bit, yeah.
So when we decided to do that was a consideration. And then we had stage names.
Yeah, so we decided to do stage names, Ed and Phoebe, obviously. They're not our real names.
To keep some of the...
haven't guessed.
Right, to keep some of the anonymity. And then, there's that struggle with going on a cruise and to PCAP and then being recognized directly with our brand, which was Swinger University Podcast.
Right.
How do we navigate that? So all those little steps were all little, oh my God, oh shit moments, right?
Right.
So all testing the waters with our faces.
The irony was we had longtime listeners to the podcast who we knew in our local community who we've been at swinger parties before, and they didn't connect our voices with Ed and Phoebe's voices.
Right.
So we were like, oh, well, that's hilarious. So maybe it's not that obvious.
Okay, that's not such a big deal. And then why did we decide to come out?
Well, about a year ago, almost exactly to the month, about a month away.
Your favorite podcasters met us on the cruise.
Yeah. So
one of your favorite podcasters.
We met Penn and Paige on the Bliss Cruise last November.
Swinger Diaries. And
no
longer podcasting.
We had dinner with them, and we had a great conversation with them. It was a fun dinner, but they started asking us, specifically Penn, started asking us very pointed questions about choices that we'd made, why we did certain things on the podcast. And I think a lot of it was kind of like getting inside of our podcaster mindset. But one of the questions that he really asked was, why didn't you come out? Like, why don't you show your faces? Why aren't you out there? And we kind of had to look at each other for a little bit and go, we don't have a good reason for that. Let's get back to you.
Let's get back to you on that.
And we spent basically this whole last year going, okay, well, what are some pros and cons? We made a list, thought through the whole thing.
Right.
And
the risks, obviously, to most people, your job, right? Does your job have an ethics clause? We looked into that, and our jobs do not. So, yes. Family. Oh, well, right after that was the before family, under the umbrella of family, was
kids. Yeah. Right. A lot of people are concerned that their kids are going to find out that they're swingers. My kids are all grown up. So I'm less concerned about.
Very evolved with their own sexuality. So we figured
they'll handle it.
They'll be allowed.
However they need to.
Clap. And then our family, our moms and dads, your mom and dad, I'll just speak for you because they're easy. My dad doesn't really matter. My mom, however, I was more concerned about her emotional discomfort if I had to explain it to her, because it would throw her world into a wicked tailspin.
Right.
And I'm very protective of that. So it took me a lot of time to really consider that.
Yeah. She has a very well-defined worldview of how things are and how you are.
Right.
And altering that, that's...
would force her to reanalyze a bunch of things in her life. And I was like, she doesn't need that kind of stress right now.
Right.
So.
Right. But we've also kind of figured out that the likelihood of these two bubbles intersecting Venn diagram style, probably not very likely.
Correct.
It would have to be a friend of hers child who happened to be a swinger, which I don't think she would out to their parents, who would then out to your mom. Right. Like it
would be pretty far.
Yeah. I'd be pretty surprised if your mom was listening to swinger podcasts.
Right.
And she would have recognized your voice at this point.
Correct.
So there you go.
And then what? Social stigma and fallout for that. Any kind of negative comments that we're going to get. And Kate from Wanderlust podcast can attest to that, and the negativity that she's had to deal with and her funny reactions to those.
Yeah, she's got a whole bunch of TikTok videos that kind of talk to some of that.
So, we're a little nervous about that, but we have a much larger swinger support group community, Black and Kinky, Casual Swingers, Kate from Wanderlust Swingers, and a bunch of others that and all the other younger Swinger Society and 4 Hour Play that are coming out and really trying to normalize non-monogamy and pave that way for everyone to just be okay with who you are and what you do. And
yeah, and I wouldn't say that it's completely safe to come out at this point, but I would say that society as a whole is kind of shifting in that direction. There's a lot of interesting news and interesting studies that are coming out about non-monogamy becoming more and more mainstream every year. So, you know, we're kind of coming out at a time where we're kind of dipping into the social mindset. So crossing our fingers, it's going to be okay. There is one aspect of this that is probably the most concerning, but once again, like, I don't know what the repercussions are going to be about with like our neighborhood or with people we know, and it's doxing, and that's someone actually connecting faces and addresses and basically outing us, and that we get harassed in our physical location in our normal lives
and have to move.
That would be unfortunate, but I don't know that that's going to happen either.
What are some of the rewards?
Well, one of the first things that we thought of is when you can see somebody's face, they're more approachable. And one of the things that I've always hated about like our YouTube videos, it's a dancing logo, right?
Yeah.
It's not personal. Like there's nothing that says Ed or Phoebe about that. It's just a blank screen. It's kind of like staring at static.
Right. And we're more marketable now.
Right. So we have faces. People can associate faces with our campaigns and our promotions and all of our social media. So we're gonna be, our faces are gonna be in your faces.
And so how is this gonna make it easier?
Well,
or harder?
It's gonna be easier to produce content. So one of the things that we struggled with in terms of like YouTube and TikTok is so much of that is like a dancing thing, or you're doing something, you're interacting with the camera, and people want to see your face. So we were like, okay, well, what if we put like emojis over our face? And I'm like, yeah, it's kind of corny. What if we just blurred our faces? Okay, that's kind of creepy and weird. So it became like really awkward and not really, like, it took the personality out of it. So like, you know, we might as well just not show our faces, because just seeing, you know, from here down,
still wasn't great.
Not a great thing.
Exactly.
And not only that, but we've seen some podcasters that use masks, you know, cool, cute little lacy, whatever masks. We can tell who you are. It doesn't really mask your face enough that people who knew you wouldn't be able to recognize you.
Yeah.
And people who live in Virginia, for example, wouldn't recognize us on the street because we don't live there.
Right.
So it's not like we're going to run across somebody who we don't live in the same community with. So anyway, it's not really a thing.
The more complex or harder things to do is, you know, we have to look good. So my hair has to be done. You have to have clothes on. Like, we actually have to put on clothes because we work naked. Just kidding. Sometimes we do. Yeah. So, and what to wear? Like, what to wear? Makeup. And then that's just the aesthetic stuff. What about the technical stuff?
Yeah, and this has been fun in kind of like a sarcastic way. Lighting, so we've got lights behind us, we've got lights above us so that we're well lit.
Other cool
oh yeah, we forgot about that light. We got a little sparkle light over here, which you can see on the main camera, which brings me to the cameras. So I have a camera, Phoebe has a camera, and then there's the room camera, and I'll kind of switch between them at different points, and you'll see how that all works. We've got props. We've got...
Did you see the flamingo?
We've got our flamingo.
Isn't it the bomb?
Here. But we had to decorate the room, and it's got to look presentable, which means we can't have junk out on the desk, out on the table. You're crossing into that visual medium, and so it's got to look good too. And editing. Now I have video that I'm editing, audio that I'm editing. I'm splicing between multiple cameras. So it takes my production stuff up to a new level, and as you have seen, there's a new intro that we have because we can show our faces, so I can do more exciting stuff.
The good thing is we've got a lot of practice.
Yeah.
And really, we haven't stopped once yet in this recording. And really, all you have to do is just do the camera angles.
Yeah.
And the
it'll
cute
be fun.
faces. Or the wacky faces.
We'll do a lot of like fourth wall crossing, so it'll be fun.
I've been doing that a lot because it's fun.
Yeah. And I guess the kind of the last thing that I'll throw in here is we want all of you guys to kind of wish us luck, cross your fingers for us, because this is a new venture. We don't know how this is going to go. We are crossing our fingers that it's going to go well.
Yes.
But tell us your thoughts. Like,
Yes.
let us know what you think of the new format, whether you like the lighting and the setup. You can call us. You can email us.
Yes. You can call.
Definitely follow us on our social media and
Yes,
message us on
please.
social media. We love hearing from our listeners.
Check out our cool new website.
Yeah, and our website, we're making improvements to that. Yeah, we've got plenty of means for you to reach out to us, and we'd appreciate if you did. And of course, tell your friends about our podcast, because the more listeners that we have, the more people get to hear our stuff. And
Exactly.
we get to help more people, which we love doing.
Exactly. So we all struggle with the fear of being exposed as swingers. We officially confronted our fear and stepped out into the open. Only time will tell if this was a good decision or a bad one.